Don't feed the pumpkins. I'm typing this as a record of what has happened. If someone should find me out here, wherever here is, this is what happened. More importantly, you need to know who is responsible for this. Also, out of the dozens of vehicles bogged down in this field, mine is the Blue Jay 2013 Freightliner. If I should die, it is recoverable. It should go to my son, John Granger, in Antioch, Illinois. I left Litchfield, Illinois, around 2 p.m. on Halloween with a last-minute load of pumpkins destined for the Antioch Walmart. Despite the fact I was once told that Illinois is the #1 pumpkin producer in the country, the state itself appears to be in the midst of a shortage. I was due in about 8 p.m., but I was trying to get in by 6, and after unloading, I was planning to go visit my wife Linda and my son for Halloween. It was going to be the first Halloween in my son's life that I was going to be there trick-or-treating. Linda was making a big deal out of it. John, 8 now, she said it would be scarred with disappointment if I didn't show now. So I probably should have gotten better sleep the night before, but sue me. I was gear jamming and popping go pills like popcorn. Don't look down on me. Don't be fooled. This is just the nature of the trucking industry. Everybody does it, and I'm not afraid to tell it like it is. Anywho, just after normal on 39, I hit a wall of traffic. I could hear on the CB that there was a hazmat spill up ahead, and they require special teams to clear it off. I, like the other truckers, got to gabbing on the old CB looking for shortcuts. To my surprise, after scrutinizing this route several times before for any kind of shortcut, I was told about a gut shot shortcut just ahead that could get me into my destination at least an hour earlier. Even with the fact I already sat in this backup for at least 45 minutes at this point. Second comrade in gears piped in and said that shortcut was closed. First driver contradicted him. He stated that he had just used it just 2 weeks ago. It was a wide open country road. You could hit 70 all the way, and the only town along the way had been burned down in an industrial accident some 30 years ago. But that second trucker had chimed in again, and he said it was closed for tonight, and only tonight, and to not use it. I disregarded that second feller, exited the interstate, and followed the directions of the first man. Well, Linda, I guess you could say I told you so. You always said so. I needed to learn how to follow directions and not cut so many damn corners all the time. You always told me I didn't put in the work, and the funny thing is, for the first time on this drive, get there, I did. I cut all the corners, but I wanted to put in the work. But you're right. Never put a second of effort in. This is how it all ends. I suppose you're right. I never will. But, one way or another, you're getting what you wanted, what you text me, what you don't tell me about, and what I try not to care about. I was coming home for John, and damn it, I know it won't hold up in court, but I want my boy to get that damn truck. Not you cheating harpy. Anyway, found the road. 2 lanes, clear to the sky, surrounded by corn and then pumpkin fields forever. My straight shot, I pushed 80 the whole way flying on cracked asphalt, diesel, and go pills. Ahead, I nearly crapped myself. There were some massive metal barricades blocking the road. I applied the brakes and I barely stopped in time. When I got out of the cab, I scratched my head plenty. I saw that they were chained up with some serious brick-like padlocks to concrete posts buried deep into the ground. I thought about trying to shoot the padlock off, but I didn't even think my .357 would cut it. In theory, I could back up and try to blast through them, but I knew I would sustain serious damage to my rig. The ground was a bit wet, so I didn't think I could cross the ditch in the field and not get stuck either. The strangest thing about the damn barricades was they were not official in the least. They had a wooden sign chain across them, with the mailbox stick-on letters simply warned, "Do not feed the pumpkins." No trespassing, not road closed. As far as I could see from my cab and my binoculars, there's nothing at all wrong with the damn road. I was pretty mad because I knew it would take me hours to reverse and head back down the interstate and get back in time even to unload, much less time to go trick-or-treating. Now I know what you're thinking, and I'll just say it right now. I didn't bother to call, and I told myself it wasn't worth it. I'd just show up whenever I showed up, because it wasn't my fault. So I started back, turning around with great difficulty. I traveled back 2 miles and saw small signs for a rest area. I must have missed it the first time. Driving too deep in the mental zone, I suppose. I needed to pee and probably eat a bit before starting a roundabout way back. So I stopped. It was a little old 2-story joint with a small diner on the first level and what looked like 4 or 5 small motel rooms up top. Oddly, it had an outhouse for a restroom out front, and I want to emphasize the outhouse because this is how you'll find and catch the guy who did this to me. His name was Bill Shaw of Shaw's Chef. He's the one who did this to me. There's a wooden sign at the building. It too was made of the stick-on mailbox that is and vaguely resembled a rent switch. It read, "Yes, we're open. We're the only rest area for 67 miles and one of 2 tombstones for the late great town of Pumpkin Grove, Illinois, the former pumpkin capital of the state. Ask your host, Bill Shaw, about the pumpkin bean beef stew." When I pulled in, the parking lot had 3 vehicles in it, not including my own. One was a silver Prius, another a Grand Cherokee with wood panels. The last one was an older model Chevy pickup truck. Went inside. The diner was small, set in a rustic decor with old license plates nailed to the wall. The cafe had 8 counter seats and 2 smaller tables near the windows. And that's important, because there were 2 witnesses to what happened that night, to what Bill Shaw did to me, to us. There's an older man with stringy white hair and octagonal glasses. Unfortunately, I don't recall his name. Then there was this irritating millennial kid. All I remember is that he had metal crap in his ears and lip. I swear if I die and John starts putting that crap in his ears, I'll come back and haunt the crap out of both of you. Anyway, now I wish I could remember their names or something else about them to put here. I guess that goes for Shaw too. He was a bit above average in height, and I remember that because I couldn't see his face while he was standing behind the counter because of the low lights of the ceiling blocking his face. I know he had gray hair, and damn, that's it. Anyway, the old man, the one with the glasses, said he was part of a historical society. Said he spent the better part of his 2 years tracking down anyone or anything from Pumpkin Grove. College student, of course, as a college student, said he was from the school newspaper looking for a spooky story. Shaw came to the counter from the kitchen with 2 big bowls of that pumpkin beef bean stew for the first 2. He seemed taken back by my presence for a bit before saying howdy and trying to get real friendly with me. He asked what media I was from, and I told him I wasn't from no media, and I was trying to get through the barricade up ahead. Neither of the other 2 gentlemen seemed to know about the barricade. Shaw said he didn't know anything either, but I was suspicious of him because of the lettering on the signs. But I didn't push it. Frankly, I just wanted to eat, and he said my choice was the stew or the stew. So the stew seemed just fine. He said he wished he had more time to chat with me, but he promised to tell the story of Pumpkin Grove to the two others. But I was welcome to listen and ask questions. I didn't say it, but I couldn't care less. I was going nowhere fast, and I just wanted to eat. Shaw started off by saying he and his wife are among a handful of survivors of an explosion and fire that consumed the town of Pumpkin Grove some 30 years ago on Halloween night. Then his story descended into a cross between a rambling faith and nightmare and a ghost story. He said without hesitation, fear of consequence or remorse, that he was an accessory to a murder in his childhood. Specifically some 40 years ago, again on Halloween. He was friends with a small group of young men, including one named Donnie. Donnie was a little slow and had a slightly misshapen head, he said. Said he was picked on a lot by the Gerst brothers. The Gerst brothers apparently were notorious town bullies, teenage thugs of a bad seed thanks to their neglectful, abusive, alcoholic father. Long story short, he said the Gerst brothers lured Donnie, himself, and two other boys out into a pumpkin field, where they gave Donnie back his missing dog. Apparently, they took the dog and wrapped every inch of it in duct tape a few days ago. They watched us, he said, try to peel and pull away the duct tape off the weakened, hungry, and thirsty dog, whimpering away its last in the field. Unbeknownst to any of us, Shaw continued, Donnie had a pocket knife, and he lost it as the Gerst brothers cackled around him and the dead dog. He leapt up as they laughed and slashed the vein on their necks. One of the brothers went down, quickly spraying the blood into the field, while Donnie and the other two fought the other to death. Shaw said he just stood there, covered in arterial blood splatters, watching Donnie and the others finish off the Gersts in that field. He went on saying much of the town was shockingly grateful to hear the Gerst brothers were dead, and everyone was all too happy to sweep it under the rug rather than have four of their sons incarcerated for decades when they were needed to help with the town's bread and butter, the pumpkins. So they buried the Gerst brothers in that field and grew pumpkins on their corpses, and no one really talked about it. The town paid off their father, who was too inebriated most of the time to care, and he gleefully drank himself to death on that payoff, only about a year later. I didn't have much of a reaction to the story. It all sounded like tall tales to me at first. The historian, on the other hand, was hesitant to stay, to keep writing. He made a brief protest concerning whether or not the story was true, and whether or not he could legally listen to it. Shaw said it was both legal and true. After all, there was nothing left of the town, and the remains were long gone. The college students, dumb and crusted mouth, gaped in a mix of horror and disbelief. I was waiting, very patiently might I add, for my stew. Shaw kept promising it would be up soon. He continued the story, stating that the fields produced abnormally well afterwards. And 10 years later, he was visiting his parents with his girlfriend for the annual pumpkin festival. It's just that not only the pumpkins were both more numerous and larger, they were also more resistant to rains and the fungus, but also that the pumpkins were alive, wild, and nothing could keep them from spreading wider and wider. And everyone thought this was great at first. Profits had never been high, but weird things began to happen. Farm equipment went missing, and two farmhands were crushed by a wagon full of pumpkins tipping over onto them in a so-called freak accident. Shaw recounted how he took his girlfriend through one of the patches in a the vine seemed to wind and grapple on her legs. Of course, Shaw's folks passed it off as her not being used to the mud, but Shaw said he knew better. Shaw went on to describe that over the days that led up to Halloween, jack-o'-lanterns on folks' porches began to do some unusual things. Things like seemingly move by themselves from dusk till dawn, changing the carvings of their faces slightly, or appearing to jump off a table onto the porch without damage or apparent cause. On the morning of Halloween, Shaw said he found his black cat Lucky incinerated in front of a jack-o'-lantern as if it had breathed fire onto it from its mouth, even though he had blown out the candle inside before he went to bed. After the bit about the cat burning, the elderly man from the Historical Society tossed his spoon into his bowl. Shaw asked him if something was wrong, but the elderly man got up to leave and said it tasted like bitter, cold BS, and his story was BS, and he thanked him for nothing. After checking the remaining contents of the bowl of stew, Shaw chased him out the door to his car, asking him what direction he planned on going home. When the man peeled out of the parking lot, he was headed southwest. Shaw came back in and threw up his hands. "I tell nothing but the truth," he said. "Most people can't handle it. I'll be honest, part of me wanted to leave now too. But I was cozy there. It was warm, and the story, while BS to me at the time, was entertaining enough. College kid, sitting down way down there, looked exhausted, barely keeping his eyes open as Shaw finished out his story. He said that night Donnie approached him at dusk on Halloween while he and his family sat on the porch mourning the cat. Donnie said the Gerst brothers were alive in the pumpkin, planning to burn the whole town down tonight. Donnie said he had to tell Shaw because Shaw wasn't supposed to die. He was just supposed to watch. Now I rudely stepped in mid-story and demanded more stew. I was still hungry, and the stew was, in fact, dissatisfying. When Shaw came back with more stew, he finished the story, stating that the town was suddenly engulfed in flames, and their house in particular, with Donnie on the porch, flash burned to the ground like it had been struck by napalm from an exploding pumpkin. He escaped with his family and his future wife in the pickup truck sitting outside now. The college student suddenly said he felt like he needed to lay down, that he didn't think he could make it back to campus to the north. Shaw attended to him, getting one of the rooms from upstairs ready. I stayed downstairs and went back for more stew. I rubbed my eyes intensely and felt as if I too should stay for the night. But in the tug-of-war between fatigue and go pills, the go pills were slowly coming out of here. As I was preparing more stew, I noticed that a cutting board and knife next to it had some bluish-white powder on it, which I found peculiar. On the floor was a bottle of medication. It was called Insomniacs, sleeping pill I use when I'm coming off the go pills. It was then I realized that Shaw was dosing the stew. I ran back to my truck and pulled out my go pills and my .357 revolver. As I climbed out of the driver's side, I could see Shaw running out of the diner with a huge kitchen knife. So I ducked into the trailer and came out the back side behind him and pointed the gun at him. I slowly advanced with my snub nose pointed at his head. He dropped the knife, claimed he only wanted to puncture my tires, saying I had to do something to stop you. "I know you want to go north. I know you might be crazy enough to, your truck tough enough to smash the barricades, but I can't allow you to go. I can't let anyone else go through," he said hysterically. "I'm supposed to watch," Shaw cried. No one can get through tonight. No one can be allowed to. I told him to shut up as he rambled on about how he and his wife took it upon themselves to ward off travelers on Halloween night. It's a cursed road tonight, he said. We're cursed to stay here, and this is the best we can do to keep it from spreading. It's been calling to us for 30 years, he went on. He tried to walk away, but kept on spreading the pumpkins, he said, gritting his teeth in anguish. Maybe it was the go pills and the insomniacs working together. Hell, maybe it was the stew all by itself. But I started to laugh as I guided Shaw back into the diner and proceeded to duct tape him down to the dinner chair to make sure that he could not cause any more harm to anyone else until the police arrived. I had some cash on me. I'm not a criminal. I wasn't going to make it seem like I tied him up and died and dashed. I was in the right. I was doing the lawful thing. So I left him exact change, no tip for the food. And in the process of making change for myself, I found the padlock key in the cash drawer. When I waved it in front of him, I was certain of what it was because he gasped and thrashed behind the duct tape. I got in my truck and gunned it north toward the barricades, which, as I suspected, were easily opened with the key I confiscated from Shaw. I got back on my CB and I started making emergency calls to everyone in the state police. I went on and gave a full description of my name, the location of the diner, and Shaw's name. But I was in the middle of nowhere, so it didn't surprise me when all I got static and no acknowledgement. I also had no bonds on my cell phone. It's such essential Illinois. I was going along about 70 with the events of the night replaying in my head. The sun was almost down, but I hadn't seen the moon yet. I turned on the radio and found a good rock station. Song, Blowing on the Bayou from CCR. The opening riff perked me up, assured me that I had done everything all well and all good. I knew I was going to be late, and I didn't care. I was just gleefully tapping on the steering wheel, waiting to bust into When I Was Just a Little Boy. But, as when the vocals should have dropped, the radio station seemed to have accidentally reset the song, and it just started over. The song kept on coming up to that part and restarted itself. Same opening again and again. I started flipping through all the other stations, and all of them were playing it. All of them restarting itself at the same point. That's when I noticed the digital clock on my dash began to spin wildly, like LCD numbers on the tuner while I scanned for radio signal. The truck started to be buffeted side to side despite my headlights and no wind showing cause for it. The sun was entirely faded away, and the moon had not yet come up. But it was so dark, it reminded me as if a thunderstorm were coming, but I didn't see any clouds, nor was I expecting any for that matter. Imagine to my shock, ahead in the distance was a single traffic light. It went from green to yellow to red, just as any other traffic light. But there were no other lights or towns on this road. I slowed to 40, then 35, then 30. As I entered an unnamed, densely populated area, small buildings, stores, and houses, and that one traffic light. I came to a stop at that light. I looked around to figure out where I was. Wherever I was, I felt like I shouldn't be there. There were dim orange lights in some of the windows of the houses at the edge of the intersection. When I looked up at that window, I saw a figure with a large head in the window. And I couldn't believe my eyes when that figure turned its face toward me. It was a jack-o'-lantern, with a black glow where the carved triangular eyes and nose and mouth were sitting. It stood upright on a thin vine that seemed to grow and stretch, and it stuck its head out the window and started to stretch towards me. Let out a barely audible shrill whistle stared directly at me. Before it got any closer to my driver's side, I just gunned it. I blew that red light and redlined it. The crown disappeared behind me into nothing but dark green swelling pumpkin vine, a sea of glowing jack-o'-lanterns in my mirrors. I hit the radio up because all I could hear on all the stations was that whistle filtering through. I shifted in the third and the mass of jack-o'-lanterns grew in the mirrors. I glimpsed the left and the right windows and the planes were glowing black and orange with more pumpkins rolling up and creeping towards the road. The road began to warp and bend as I started to redline my truck again. The buffeting from side to side became difficult to control as the engine groaned. I couldn't explain how the road began to shift nor how the moon, blood orange, began to circle around me, spinning clockwise from horizon to horizon as I seemed to be outrunning the cascade of the jack-o'-lanterns. The moon slowed and dipped down and I started to climb up a hill. As I crested, the moon filled the entire windshield. It spun and then settled on a black-like pumpkin face that bore down on the cab. I don't know what happened next, but I woke up in my cab. My engine was smoking. In the fresh daylight, all I could see was mud and putrid, rotten pumpkins as far as I could see. My Blue Jay was sunk, the cab down in mud, vines, and rot. It wasn't going to go anywhere without some serious heavy-duty help. To my left and my right I saw a dozen other vehicles, some of them at least 10 years old, also up to their doors in mud and rot. Swarms of flies were visible all around in the boiling midday sun. I'm not really sure how long it's been, or what time it really was, because the clock on my phone is broken. It just simply reads 9999 o'clock. I don't know what day it is. I have no cell signal and no radio. Now, Linda, I need to be honest with you. I cheated on you. Maybe a dozen times. I did it before before I knew you were doing it to me. I can't live by the rules of trucking or marriage or anything. It is the road and you command it, and it is your only rule. But now, I'm worried I've broken my last rule. I have no food and no water. There is no road here. There is only the rule of the blazing sun with a jack-o'-lantern face on it that never sets. I fear that in time, unless I find help or help finds me, I will be feeding the pumpkins.